Do you have a favorite manufacturer of guitar effect pedals?
I really like Boss pedals a lot, actually. I know that's probably unhip to say, but you know, it's like I see like a billion tube screamers out there, and it's like I don't like the real tube screamer, so why the hell am I gonna want something that's just like a copy of a freaking tube screamer? You know? Oh wow, really? So you're using LEDs for clipping? Hmm, nice trick. You know? I mean, to me, it's like I want to hear the stuff that's out there. I mean, Tim Escobedo stuff. You know, uh, it's not commercial, obviously, but you want a guitar pedal, an ugly face with an LFO, got a ninja cap behind you, just made an appearance. Fellow the Wonder Dogs guarding Janine in the other room, I think. So
Very good. Do you have a favorite modification for store bought or do it yourself designs?
now, speaking about tube screamers and LEDs, I like taking big buffs and replacing the first diode clipper with asymmetrical LEDs. To me, it makes it much buzzier and much fuzzier and much crunchier. So, that's usually the first thing I'll mess with any kind of dirt pedals is whatever kind of clipping they have in them. You know, big fan of germanium diodes. Uh, Boss pedals, a lot of times they're distortion pedals. You can come to life by taking one of the diodes out if they have diode clippers, which almost all of them seem to have. If you pull out one of it, makes them louder, gives them a little bit more tone. I think because I'm always looking to kind of kick an amp in the ass anyway, so I want a pedal to be loud. You know,
You use tube amps or solid state?
it depends on the application. Lately, I sling a Fender Cyber Deluxe a lot because it's a great old guy amp. If I'm actually being serious about something, I always play through my the little Dirty Bad Model One Princeton thing that I built, all tube.
What's the Cyber Deluxe?
Cyber Deluxe is it's basically a computer with a speaker hooked up to it, and it uses virtual tone interpolation. I can't even say it.
But it's
Uh,
all solid state, or is it?
People can't tell the difference. I mean, it's funny. It's like my old guitar player Pete is a total tube guy. Has to be tubes. If it doesn't have tubes, it can't possibly be a guitar amp. And I remember I went to a store one time to try a Behringer V amp, a V whatever the hell it was, a V Empire thing. It was like a 120 watt, 130 watt stereo power amp thing with like basically a V amp, you know. And I'm playing through that thing, and Pete comes walking over and goes, "Wow, that thing sounds great. What kind of tubes are in it? It's completely digital, you know. It's all in how you set them, you know. Like a lot of people tend to not run, I think, enough mid range. Crank the mid range to like 22 or so, and almost anything will sound good.
How do you feel about Mojo?
I really like Jim Morrison. He was cool. Mojo's bullshit. I'm sorry. Electrons can't tell what the fuck they're going through. I mean, it's like certain applications, yes, some things might sound marginally better, but it was like I built a bunch of them quads, and it was funny. The ones that everybody likes the best are the ones where I just use like cheap ass ceramic caps in them instead of using, like chiclets or tantalums or whatever. I mean, I just don't buy into the Mojo thing. It's like I watch these people sell capacitors. I got somebody pissed on me at Facebook at one point because they were selling these. They were taking like old capacitors. They weren't even really old capacitors. It was like they were taking new capacitors, putting like, for all intents and purposes, crayons around them, spray painting them, putting their name on them. Like this is going to change your tone, And it's like it's bullshit. You got to have pretty goddamn golden ears to be able to tell the difference between one capacitor and another when you're playing through something that's like 250% distortion. You know, I mean, it's like, oh yes, man, them green chiclets are going to definitely sound different from these yellow poly caps, but the you can't use ceramic caps because there's no mojo. It's like screw your mojo, man. It's all bullshit.
Well,
You can make anything sound good if you mess with it long enough.
Amen. Amen. You get more chicks with the tropical cap chips, though. Tropical fish caps.
Um, I never had a problem with that, so you know, I just let my fingers do the talking, you know, because it's like if I'm doing the talking, Lord help me, you know.
Amen. Amen. I saw a website that sells, and it's not cheap, but they're selling cloth covered wire for your amplifier.
That's definitely Mojo part, man. It makes a huge difference. But you know, one thing that is a Mojo thing is the difference between solid core and stranded wire. That actually does make a difference.
Really?
I didn't believe it, you know, but well, there's more capacitance in stranded wire, so it sounds warmer. It's not quite as edgy, and it won't have quite as much like high end harmonics. That said, I prefer the solid core wire because it stays put where you put it
Really?
instead of just flopping around. Yeah.
Really? I've seen online, I've seen people discourage folks often from using solid core. They say if you're not an expert, don't go with the. I'm gonna definitely try that out. How do you feel about
Yeah,
gauge wire? Is it better to use a little thicker? Would you think?
definitely. I think it. I don't think it makes all that much difference really, like between say like maybe 18 and 24 gauge, whatever, you know. Uh, it's all what you can fit into the hole.
Right. Right.
Yeah. If you're using a lot of power with something, yeah, I could see using bigger wires, but I don't think it really makes that much difference in like the applications that we use for, you know.
So, if there was a genie in a bottle who gave away guitar effects, what would this genie bring you?
I want a Resley tone, man. I want one of them like Univox psychedelic machine things. It was like basically it was a Univibe and a Super Fuzz in a box, but man, they sound cool. The Cincy High Flyer would be another good one. Uh, another Ludwig Phase 2 would be great because I'd love to try them in stereo, which I think would just be insane. You know, you'd have to sit down to operate both foot treadles, but I swear to God, when Dino came down to visit last year at one point, he had mine actually talking. You know, I could have swore my guitar said rock or something like that, you know, and I'm like, Dino, man, did you just hear that? He's like, what? I said, do what you just did again. They were listening. It sounded like it was freaking talking, you know? You got to build one of those, Leif, man. I'm telling you, Petey. That's just, it's cool because it's almost like you have like effects where you can put the image, left or right in the stereo field. But with the Ludwig Phase 2, you can, because of the phase cancellations and stuff that you can do, it can make it sound like notes are coming behind people. you know, it's it's much more dimensional.
Tell me about the one that got away.
Uh, well, that would probably be my Ludwig. It's a funny story with that. I'll make it as brief as I can, but I had Ludwig was giving them all away because they couldn't sell them back in the early '70s. And there was one that sat in the band room at my high school for however many years it was there. And I asked the band director what the hell it was. He says, "Ask me before summer break." And I said, "Okay, what the hell is it?" Before we went on summer break, he says, "Take it home and try it. See what you can do with it." I said, "Okay." And then he retired. So I ended up with it by default. And not knowing what it was, because back then, who cared? It was like, so I traded it to my old rhythm guitar player for a half a lid of grass and a Vox bass amp. Well, the bass amp blew up, and of course the grass got smoked, so I didn't have anything to show for it. But the funny thing was supposedly the Ludwig had been destroyed in a car accident. And as it turned out, 30 some years later, when we started researching the pedal to try and be able to clone one, I put a thing on Facebook asking if any of my rock star friends had one, and my old drummer goes, "Well, I might know where there's one." And it turns out that he had bought uh, the Ludwig pedal from the same guy I had sold it to for like, a half a lid of grass or something, like 30 years earlier. And so I said, "Dude, what do you want for it?" He goes, well, I don't know. You know, he's like, why don't you just take it? So I traded in my Telecaster for it, and took the thing, and we figured out how to get it working thanks to RG Keen and Dino and Kepi and all the other people that were crazy enough to throw in on that project. I got the first of the Ludwigs that we started to rip apart, and then Dino got two of them. So between me and Dino, we had the things covered where we could pretty much figure out whatever it was that went into the circuits. And then, of course, with Archie Keen from Visual Sound, who is, RG stands for Resident Guru, I think. You know, reverse engineered it. And now anybody that wants one can build one instead of paying $5,000 on freaking eBay, or $1,000 or whatever it is that they're going for. Now they're worth a lot less.
So what's the project that you're absolutely the most proud of?
The Ludwig project, absolutely. I mean, the fact that we took that from some postulation on the internet and a couple of factory schematics that were absolutely wrong and reverse engineered it to the point where we have actual functioning examples of clones. And in addition, especially with Dino, Digitude, as they call him on the forum, and RG, coming up with mods to actually improve on the original circuit. Like Dino came up with a mod to, there was a huge volume difference with the Ludwig between whether you had the modulation on and the fuzz, and he figured out how to fix that. I mean, so that was like a huge project. I mean, it was a holy grail for a lot of people, and now anybody that wants one can have one. So I'm really proud to be involved in that. That was like the ultimate DIY moment when Dino called me up and said, "Dude, it works!" You know?
Well, that's one thing I can say. This community it's not the typical behavior that you see. Normal internet behavior of bickering and uh, chest puffing up and people ripping on each other all the time. It's a very
But I
generous
got the crystal
community.
ball. Yeah, yeah.
But I got the crystal ball.
No, that's the thing. I mean, we're all in it together, and it's like we all learn from each other's mistakes. We learn from each other's triumphs. We learn from each other's tribulations. And if it wasn't for, all the good people in the community, I mean, from every forum and every, designer and every lummox like me that just cobbles bullshit together into something that makes fuzzy goodness. We all, it's a different world, because we all benefit from each other, and I think we all respect each other, which is something that's really lacking most areas of the internet. You know,
Now, is that a real phase two or is that a Sears phase two?
it's a Ludwig phase two. I'll grab it if you want, so you can see it.
So do you have any persons in the community whom you look up to, admire, or respect?
Oh, geez, yeah. There's so many. It's hard to even begin to start. Obviously, RG, as I had mentioned, RG Keen, amazing cat. Gus Smalley. Uh, Gus started calling me to explain things that I just wasn't getting a long time ago, and I've been very grateful for that. Gus is an amazing cat. Uh, Dino Tipsis, he's awesome too. Digitude. Mark Hammer, of course. Mark's freaking amazing. Uh, Lucifer Strip, Dave. Dave is the fuzz guru. There's so many of them that I look up to in the community. I mean, even people like Zach Vex. I mean, it's like look at the stuff that he's done with just a fuzz face. I mean, it's like a fuzz face and turn it into a fuzz factory, which is a completely different animal. Debbie Ever, she's been at it for a long time. She's been a big inspiration to me to like try things. Because like some of like her pedals, I mean, the only difference is the transistors are flipped. 180 degrees out of phase from where they would normally be. But I found that sometimes it sounds better that way. It doesn't matter whether it looks right or whether it's technically right. It's what it sounds like. If it sounds good, it is good.
One thing about the community you would change if you could.
I'd like to see peace between a couple of warring forums, but I think that There's feelings that were hurt a long time ago by, between a few people. And I think in some respects those feelings are justified. But I think a lot of it comes down to misunderstanding and the intent that was behind things. So I'd like to see people get along a little bit better. And I mean, it's amazing how well people get along already, but it would just be nice to see peace where it's like people can interact between these different places without having to be like the forbidden place or the other forum or whatever. That's all bullshit, man. Let it go. It's in the past. Can't get it back. Onward.
Do you have anything that you regret buying? Not necessarily an effect, but like a tool or some parts. Anything you regret spending money on?
I got a whole rack of crap over here behind me. A lot of stuff that I'll probably never use. There's been a few things that I've regretted buying. Like sometimes I like to buy things cheap on eBay that are broken and fix them and then try and flip them over. And of course, getting good credit on Bill Me Later, and eBay is a dangerous combination when you're an effect monger. So there's a lot of things that I've regretted buying, but in the end, nah, not really. They're all good. I love toys. I'm a big toy guy. So
So
the more pedals, the better.
I noticed you've got an oscilloscope behind you. Would you like to tell me a little bit about that?
Um, Found it on the side of the road one day while driving around many years ago. Gave it to a friend of mine because I didn't think I'd ever use it. And I had a dual trace one that I had given him as well. This is just a single trace. And I tried to get the dual trace back. I asked if he was still using it. He said no. He goes, "You want one?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he gave me back the single trace. Nice guy. Um, but I don't really know what to do with it, so I don't really use it. Once in a while, I'll hook something up to it and look at a waveform or something. But I've had better luck with an audio probe, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing with this. I'm a hack, Petey. It's like I take parts and stick them together, and if they sound good, hey, cool. I learned something, and if they blow up in my face, then it's like I get stoned off the fumes. It's a win-win.
Do you have any ambitious projects planned for the future that you'd be willing to speak about on camera?
Uh, well, me and guitar player in my band, Mike. I'm the pedal guy. He's the tube amp guy, and we've been talking about creating our own line of effects devices. So at this point, he's doing the R&D to like come up with nice, sexy graphic boxes, and I'm working up the designs to make a couple of I want to make a couple of unique pedals that aren't something that everybody else has done. The tone blaster thing obviously is pretty straight up tone bender for the most part. The suzy-q pedal is completely different from just about everything else that I've seen out there. It's not a tube screamer. No tube screamers. No. Uh, you know, uh, there's a couple of things like that. I've been playing with using inverters to make buzzes with too, and misusing the inverters because you can do a lot of weird things with them. I mean, you could use them to modulate things. You could use them for compression. You could use them to make tone controls with, in addition to like stage after stage. I mean, you got your average 4069 or 4049. You got like 6, 8 stages of stuff to play with. There's a lot you can do with that. Low gauge, low gain, low gauge adds up to monster tones sometimes.
Well, wrapping this up,
Woohoo!
what do you see for the future of the industry or trends in guitar effects processing?
I really like Debbie Evers' idea of the modular effect. I think that could really go a long way.
The console?
The console. I think the console is probably one of the best ideas that I've seen in. I mean, I've been doing this for like Jesus, 40 something years. The console is the coolest idea because I mean, you can basically make it whatever you want. Uh, what I really think we're going to see more and more of is uh, more DIY stuff going surface mount because obviously Fairchild's not making through hole components, the way that they were. Uh, I think the big thing is going to probably be personal devices like phones and iPads and things like that. And that's where effects are going to end up morphing into. It's like you're going to have your phone, you're going to plug your guitar into it, you're going to plug it into an amp in a venue, and there's all your stuff right there. You know, that seems to be the way that it's heading. But I don't really think all that stuff sounds quite right. Most people don't go, get into it to the point where they actually go in deep enough to actually tweak stuff where it sounds musical. They just use whatever it is that comes out of the box, and whatever comes out of the box is bullshit. It's designed for maximum impact, either on a showroom floor or in some kid's bedroom where they're sucking spam through a straw. That wasn't as funny as I tried to make it sound. Sorry. Spam sucking trailer trash tone.
Well, Jimmy, I thank you very much for sharing a little bit of your passion for what you love to do with the community and your opinions.
Sorry, people. Thank you.
I thought this would be an interesting experience for people on the forum to get to know a little bit more about some of the builders. So if anyone is interested in doing one of these type of things, you could contact me through through my YouTube channel here or the forum, however you want to get in contact with me. I'd love to see more participation in this little project. Anybody's welcome as long as you built more than 350 pedals. No, just kidding. Like, you have to, we don't want somebody coming in here like, yeah,
Hey, you could do that, a pedal a day. That's,
yeah, maybe one a month would be pushing it for me. But thank you everyone for watching and encourage more participation.
Thanks, people. Thanks, Petey.
Thank you very much to my great friend Pink Jimi Photon for sharing his little bit of what he loves to do. And keep on hacking.
Peace out.